happened? You mess with time, it tends to mess back. You'll see.
Your little cinematic universe is about to change forever. This just feels right.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. Ryan Reynolds has been joking about rebooting the MCU in all the Deadpool and Wolverine trailers, saving the MCU because he's Marvel Jesus, he's the Messiah, and there have been many fourth wall break jokes that he's made directly at Kevin Feige, Marvel Studios, the MCU itself. He even directly calls out Fox Marvel by name during all the CinemaCon footage. But in actuality, Marvel is using him to start the process of pulling an actual reboot on the Marvel movies, the MCU itself, to fix a lot of problems that they're running into since Marvel Phase 4 after Avengers Endgame, because a lot of those problems will only get worse, and the MCU will only get more top-heavy as they introduce more and more characters like the Fantastic Four that are coming shortly. They also have all these brand new X-Men that they'll introduce when they do the live-action X-Men movies in several years too. So if you thought that they had problems right now with all the stuff that's going on, they're trying to integrate everything, it's only going to get worse. That is where the reboot comes in. How do you fix the MCU? You let Deadpool save it by destroying it first and then remaking it. Big reminder, we're doing a Deadpool and Wolverine ticket giveaway, so if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get everything. I'll name a couple of giveaway winners during this video too. During the actual Deadpool and Wolverine trailers in the CinemaCon footage, which takes the fourth wall breaks way beyond what you ever expected, like the references just go off the charts, Deadpool is taken by the TVA, Matthew McFadden's paradox, tries to blow a bunch of smoke up his butt about becoming reality's greatest hero amongst heroes like the Avengers. They show him his future on all these monitors. They show him a bunch of previous Marvel movie footage. They also show him future Marvel movie footage that they've integrated him into, like they've edited him into some of the previous Marvel movies, making it seem like it's brand new footage. He says yes, and the CinemaCon footage kind of took this a little bit further, like you see the rest of that scene where he breaks the fourth wall again, calling out the MCU and Fox separately, and calling out superhero movie tropes. That's where a lot of the Marvel Jesus jokes come in.
I'm the Messiah. I am Marvel Jesus.
And in the context of the scene, like just the actual story-based level within the movie, just going on the internal logic, Deadpool with the TemPad here from the TVA enables him to jump across timelines, the past, the present, the future, different universes, like any normal TVA agent, Agent Deadpool, just like Loki before he became God Loki. Enables Deadpool to mess with the MCU, like basically change the MCU fundamentally, soft reboot. Basically the same thing he did with Cable's time travel device, but on a larger scale now in the traditional Marvel movies. So when Deadpool is joking here about changing the MCU, he's also calling out Marvel Phase 4, Marvel Phase 5, Marvel Phase 6, now movies and shows, with all the problems that Marvel has had in real life, saying he's going to save Marvel from itself basically, and because it's Deadpool, you expect him to just completely mess with everything, like Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe. In reality, he said obviously he's just clowning on all the Marvel movies, and of course it would be amazing if Deadpool and Wolverine, the movie itself, were so good that it turned around all public opinion for everybody that's been disappointed in Marvel since Avengers Endgame. We'll get into that in a second with all their real-life production issues behind the scenes, but Ryan Reynolds is also trying to remind people not to overhype the movie too much. Like, even if it does over $1 billion and he messes with older Marvel movies and somehow makes them seem better in retrospect, that'll be a bonus, so don't go into the movie expecting too much of it. But also, on the other side of that coin, Marvel is using him to fix a lot of their current problems in the most meta Deadpool way possible. Not just using the Deadpool and Wolverine movie because they need all that extra money, like, please, everybody, spend $1 billion on this movie, we could really use that $1 billion. But also using the Deadpool character in a meta way to fix a lot of their problems behind the scenes in real life. And it all starts with them letting him take the piss out of Marvel. That's why the movie is so full of Disney jokes, Kevin Feige jokes, MCU jokes, Fox jokes. It goes way beyond that, like you're just seeing a taste of it in the trailers.
Want to do some cocaine?
Hey, cocaine is the one thing that Feige said is off limits.
What about Bolivian marching powder?
They know all the slang terms. They have a list.
The first step in Marvel correcting a lot of their previous mistakes is in acknowledging that there was a problem in the first place that needs to be fixed. It's all about acceptance. Deadpool is both the therapist here and the surgeon with the scalpel that they're using to perform some much-needed surgery on the movies. So if this movie was going to be so good for them, why did they wait so long to release Deadpool 3? Like, why didn't they release this right after Avengers Endgame when they should have released it?
Oh, that's just lazy writing.
In real life, during 2019, after the Fox Disney buyout deal finished legally, Kevin Feige got control of all the X-Men, Fantastic Four, some other characters back. Not every character, because you still have all the problems with Universal, the Hulk rights in the Sony Spider-Man sharing deal, so they don't have every single character right now. But they got all the X-Men, all the Fantastic Four back, which are huge. They should have been leading with those characters during Marvel Phase 4. But after the buyout deal actually clears legal, it clears the government, like they get the characters back and start integrating the company. Most people were thinking about Kevin Feige's problem in how to actually introduce those characters. Like, all of a sudden you have these characters, how do you explain they're just showing up in the MCU right now? There are actual ways to do that that totally make sense without having to reboot things and completely change everything you've been doing so far. There are a lot of jokes about this when the Eternals movie came out, like why didn't the Eternals help out during the final battle in Avengers Endgame? I felt like the reason Marvel gave us in the movie was not a good reason. There were better ways to explain that. But here's the issue with all the X-Men and the Fantastic Four Deadpool characters, for instance. Back at Comic-Con 2019, Kevin Feige started hyping up with the interviews he was doing that Fantastic Four movies, X-Men movies would be coming, and they would be good, like they would spend the time they needed to actually make good movies. But here's the thing with that. Legally, before this point, per the terms of the buyout deal, like just the way the law works in the United States when companies buy out each other, before the ink was dry and the deal cleared Congress and they actually started integrating the companies, Kevin Feige was legally not allowed to have any kind of planning meetings or suggestion meetings. He couldn't even joke about X-Men or Fantastic Four inside the Marvel offices with any other employees, any new actors. He couldn't talk to anybody about playing new versions of characters. And he said many times in the past, as the president of the studio, he has to plan the movies and the shows 5 years out. So like right now, he has to know what movies they're probably going to release in 5 years, in 2029. And remember, at this time, they're releasing about 3 movies per year, and they were getting ready to launch Disney Plus with a couple of shows like WandaVision, the Loki series, all that other stuff during Marvel Phase 4. So all the movies that we saw during Marvel Phase 4, like the Eternals movie, Falcon and Winter Soldier, all that other stuff, he had to have that planned almost up to 5 years before Avengers Endgame came out. It takes an army of people to make all those movies and shows. Like, he had to hire all those people, they had to work out the stories with the writers, the directors, hire all the actors, and then actually start production years and years before Avengers Endgame came out. And at the time all that started, it was long before the Marvel Disney people started talking to each other about an actual buyout. So none of those movies could involve any X-Men or Fantastic Four characters in any major ways at all. So you have this giant backlog of stuff that they've already been spending billions of dollars in production on to actually get out the door when they actually get the rights to X-Men, Deadpool, Fantastic Four back, which is why you did not see Deadpool 3 come out right after Avengers Endgame. Even though Kevin Feige could come up with ideas on his own in his head, like so he could be ready to hit the ground running when they got the rights, the problem is he had to have a lot of movies ready to go if the deal did not go through, because that happens a lot too. Like sometimes the deal might clear both companies, but Congress will turn it down. There's big problems in the United States with a lot of companies buying each other out. So they had to have a completely separate Marvel Phase 4 plan that did not depend on X-Men or Fantastic Four going right after Avengers Endgame. But in reality, how do you follow up on 10 years of traditional MCU characters if they knew they were going to kill off Iron Man, retire Captain America, kill some of their heavy hitters? Scarlet Witch, for example, is amazing. WandaVision was fun. Like, there was some fun stuff during Marvel Phase 4. But in reality, anybody could look at the situation and just say, if they wanted to keep using Scarlet Witch, why don't you just put her in an X-Men movie? Like, if you want the next 10 years of Marvel to feel like something completely fresh with the biggest A-list characters you have, why don't you lead with an X-Men movie, Deadpool 3, Fantastic Four, with new versions of actors, and just integrate some of the classic actors like Scarlet Witch into that X-Men movie? That's why in present day, a lot of people just think of Marvel Phase 4, Marvel Phase 5, Marvel Phase, like the multiverse saga in general, as the time we spent waiting for X-Men to actually show up. Like, what happened between 2020 and 2029? Well, we spent a lot of time waiting for like the really cool characters to show up. I am sure Marvel talked about this behind the scenes while they were making Avengers Endgame and they were in the middle of that Fox Disney buyout. They should have had a moment, just like a hot second in that movie, where they explained that the 4 times the Infinity Gauntlet got snapped in the MCU. Thanos snaps the first time, the second snap when he retires to his garden world to atomize the stones. We got the Hulk snap, then Iron Man's Infinity Gauntlet snap. And at the beginning of that movie, Rocket Raccoon had a line of dialogue that could have been the key to setting up X-Men showing up much sooner in the MCU. They could have completely changed things for the better.
When Thanos snapped his fingers, Earth became ground zero for a power surge of ridiculously cosmic proportions. No one's ever seen anything like it.
All they had to do at some point during the ending of the movie was have the Hulk or someone else say that all those Infinity Gauntlet snaps released so much cosmic energy around the world that it started to affect people, quote unquote, in strange ways, and then just have Deadpool 3 take place right after Avengers Endgame to lighten the tone and tease X-Men. Then you do that first big X-Men movie with all that cosmic energy released during Endgame, activating all these X genes across the world. Suddenly mutants start popping up everywhere, and that's how they introduce a totally new X-Men cast with younger actors, and it explains why you haven't seen them in the MCU yet. Like, oh, there weren't X-Men because the snaps actually led to the creation of the X-Men. They could have also said the Fantastic Four were part of the Sword Agency and had their accident with the Cosmic Storm when one of those Infinity Gauntlet snaps went off during Endgame, mutating them, giving them their powers, which they wait to follow up on to like a new Fantastic Four movie. Just really easy ways to integrate all those characters in a way that makes sense. But like I said, the reason why Kevin Feige didn't do stuff like this is because he had to have so many billions of dollars worth of movies ready to release right after Avengers Endgame, and it was full steam ahead. Like, their output very infamously picked up so that there were many more movies and many more shows each year. And it takes them at least 2 to 3 years or more to actually develop those movies. Meaning that right now, even though they've slowed down, there is still a big backlog of TV shows that they need to release. So Kevin Feige's contingency plan, because all this stuff did work out, like they got all the characters back, things worked out well, was to use the multiverse saga to sort of spin their wheel, like basically stall for time, and use it to bring back all these X-Men, Fantastic Four, classic Fox Marvel actors, and basically give them their own version of Avengers Endgame. So in reality, what's actually been going on since Avengers Endgame came out is that everything you've seen during Marvel Phase 4, Marvel Phase 5, and now Marvel Phase 6 through Secret Wars is sort of like a coda, like an extended bookend for Avengers Endgame in that first 10 years of the MCU. And all the really big, really fresh, exciting stuff that people have been expecting after Avengers Endgame, like, oh, what are you going to show us now that feels totally brand new? That'll all start after Marvel does its big reboot after Avengers Secret Wars, so that Marvel Phase 7 is like a completely fresh, completely different vibe. That's why we've been calling it the Mutant Saga, because they are literally pivoting towards more X-Men mutant-based storyline after Secret Wars. There's also the very real problem that Marvel has right now. The MCU has gotten so top-heavy with continuity that everyone feels like you need to watch all the movies and every single TV show, which there are many now, 34 movies so far after this year and 16 shows by the end of this year, just to completely understand what's happening in each new movie. So for casual fans, that's just way too much stuff to keep up with. So they're finishing this multiverse storyline with whatever the final Avengers Secret Wars movie winds up being. That could turn into 2 movies. And at the end of that, they're using a soft reboot to remake the multiverse, but do so in a way that sort of cleans up their continuity and makes things much easier for new fans to jump on for Marvel Phase 7, whatever they wind up calling it, the Mutant Saga. Sony themselves tried to do a version of this with the Spider-Man movies. If you have seen any of the Spider-Man movies, you kind of know what's going on here, but this is just like a much bigger version of that, with them trying to sort of soft do it so that it doesn't seem as much of an overt reboot. Right now, based on the way things are going, the current plan, it seems like what Marvel is doing will be more like the mid-grade that the X-Men movies did when they connected Days of Future Past to First Class. So that after Secret Wars, you'll have some actors continuing, they'll do some recasting so that some people look a little bit different, they change some of the backstory so that it all makes sense, so that the MCU after that more closely resembles the comic book 616 universe, where everybody, like all these teams, all these different characters, mutants, Fantastic Four, X-Men, have always existed together, and it makes sense in a way that's easy to understand for brand new fans. But everyone, let me know in the comments if they're going to do this soft reboot on Marvel around 2029, 2023, whenever the final Secret Wars movie winds up coming out. Let me know, who do you want them to recast, or which characters do you want them to recast? Do you want them to bring back a version of Iron Man, for instance, with a brand new actor? That is going to be a really interesting problem to see Marvel try to solve. There's a bunch of big stuff coming up in the meantime. Congratulations, Anathemata and Caleb Medley. You're the giveaway winners for my Captain America 4 video. Please email me on the About page of my channel so I can get your contact details. Big reminder, bunch of series that I'll be doing episode videos for starting in the next couple of weeks. Make sure to enable alerts for my channel so you don't miss any of that stuff. June and July will be stacked. Everybody click here for that Captain America 4 first look at Giancarlo Esposito's new character and learn what's going on. And click here for the lewdest Deadpool and Wolverine popcorn bucket parody that you have ever seen. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.